So in a world where everything is incredibly expensive at the moment, do you really need one of these? Or do you actually have a pretty good camera sitting right in your pocket? Today I want to argue that the best camera, here comes that quote again, the best camera is the one that you have on you, and it's literally in your pocket 24/7. Whether you have an iPhone or a Samsung or a Google phone, I think that these things that we, spend a lot of money on to, not just take photos, but call people, text people, connect to the internet, do all the things you need to do. These devices actually have really good cameras built into them. And I think that they are absolutely viable, and I think a good solution to actually have a pretty good professional camera in your pocket all the time. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, because I am, I think, one of the biggest advocates that I know, because I don't see many people out there talking about it, for iPhone cameras. There was a while on Instagram where I would post about it often, how much I thought iPhone photos were great, but also that I was shocked about how great they were, because there was a long time where they just weren't that good. But something's changed in the last few years where cameras are kind of, having these iPhones and Google phones and Samsung phones actually catch up. And while they're never going to replace that, there is no way that I'm saying that an iPhone or a Google phone or a Samsung phone, whatever, is going to replace something like this. I think that they're getting pretty damn close, and close enough that I don't even think you or me can tell the difference anymore. So that's what this video is about today. I'm going to talk to you about why I think the iPhone is actually a better camera than you think. So there is a few caveats to this. You aren't just automatically a pro photographer because you have a good camera in your pocket. That's just standard. Doesn't matter if you have a professional camera or a phone, whatever. You have to know the fundamentals and the basics in order to take your photos from here to here. And the iPhone works exactly the same. You have a magnitude of different things going on with your phone that are kind of stopping you from getting to that next level. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today. Some of the things that you can do with your iPhone to actually take your iPhone photography to the next level, to the point where it is actually hard to tell whether it is a pro camera or a phone. And the good news is your phone is actually doing majority of the heavy lifting for you. There's this thing called computational photography. Essentially what that means is it's doing all these little adjustments in the background to help make your photos look better. But there's a big but here. Sometimes it actually does a worse job. And by trying to make your photos, look more smooth and sharp, they actually end up looking fake, and they don't look real, and they look kind of, crap. One of the most important things to do on an iPhone, if you're an iPhone user, this is going to be a very iPhone heavy video because I don't have an Android. Sorry about that. Android users, love you. Anyway, if you have an iPhone, you can go into your settings and activate, has to be a pro phone also, but you can activate this setting called Pro RAW. Essentially what that is, it is shooting in RAW, changes your image processing from JPEG to RAW, which means your photos are just easier to edit, but it also on an iPhone takes your photos from 12 megapixels to 48 megapixels, which unlocks a lot more resolution and a lot more quality in your photos. Check out some of these photos that I've taken on my phone over the years. They look great. But when we punch in on the details of these photos, they still look great. That is what I mean by 48 megapixels. It creates greater resolution, but greater details within the smaller parts of your image. Now I'm going to run through a couple of other tips that I kind of find, along the way when I shoot with my phone, but also some common mistakes that I see people make when they are taking photos with their iPhone. I think the number one mistake that I see people make is they pull their phone out of their pocket and they don't clean these things, your lenses. These things get so dirty and oily and filthy from being in your pocket, in your handbag, putting them down on a table. They get so filthy. And then when you pick them up to take a photo, your photo is going to be blurry because it's all smudged, or you're going to have random streak lines in photos at nighttime, all that stuff. You just need to clean the lens. Get in the habit of taking it out of your pocket, just getting your shirt, going for it like that. That is the best way to ensure that your photos are staying to that high quality. So the next thing I want to talk about quickly is the rule of thirds. They are these lines that appear on your screen, and they're actually really important because they help you not only frame your photos, but they actually help you make your photos better. And what do I mean by that? Well, essentially, if you line a subject or something of interest up on one of these lines is when you're taking a photo, it creates interest to the viewer. There's something about them that actually helps, but also is pleasing to the eye when something is on this imaginary line. I don't know the science behind it, it just works, I'm telling you. But these lines help you frame up your shots, they help you center people as well. You can use them in a whole bunch of different scenarios. Pay attention to them when they're on this screen. Actually use them because they can take your photos to the next level. Now, the last step that helps take your photos from here to here is the editing. And that's what separates, regular iPhone photos or smartphone photos from the actual camera photos. Is majority of the photos that you see from a professional camera, they're all edited. I hate to break it to you, they're not straight out of camera, unless it's with the Fujifilm. Shout out Fuji, great camera, watch my review video, flippin' love this thing. Anyway, majority of the photos that you see from professional photographers are edited. And so in order to make your photos, iPhone photos, look better, you gotta edit them. It's just the way that we do things around here. This is nothing new, it's been happening for years. And editing your photos can honestly just help enhance them. Now, I talked about shooting in RAW before. When you shoot in RAW, it actually makes editing your photos so much easier. You can save photos that you accidentally stuff up. If you've taken a photo and it's too bright, you can bring the brightness down easily when you shoot something in RAW. So I would highly recommend jumping on a photo editing app. Lightroom is free on the iPhone, I'm pretty sure majority of the features are. There's a bunch of different apps out there that can help you edit your photos to make them look better. And by actually importing these photos into Lightroom, it is essentially taking away all that yucky stuff. Remember what I was talking about before about that computational photography, huge confusing word. Apple, when you see your photos in the Photos app, you're seeing a preview, which is a preview that is created of all these things that Apple's trying to do to make your photos look better. But bringing the raw file into Lightroom is essentially going, no, I don't want any of that crap. I want to make this photo actually look like a photo. And so you are editing the raw file. You're not editing this random preview file that Apple have made that, if you post online, it may look okay. Editing the raw file will make your photos look even better. So I highly recommend jumping on a photo editing app to do that. You can even edit them within Photos as well, but yeah, 100% editing your photos will take them to the next level. I truly believe that your iPhone, your smartphone, is a viable camera solution in 2026, 2027, into the future. I believe these things are great at taking photos. Gear is not the issue. The habits that you enforce around them is what creates all these problems. I think that these things are well and truly equipped to be everyday cameras, family cameras, to be holiday cameras. You can definitely use them in this scenario. I'm not saying that professional cameras have no place. Totally, they are still on top, they are still the best. But what I am saying is that when you're looking at getting a new camera, or you're wondering, I think maybe I would like to buy a camera, I would urge you to consider, is the smartphone in your pocket actually a viable option? Instead of paying $2,500 for a camera, do I already have something in my pocket that might just work just as well? Or well enough to get me through for a little bit until I'm ready for a camera? That's the question that I want to pose to you at the end of this video. I hope this video has been helpful in giving you some ideas on how you can take your iPhone photography to the next level, but also reinforce some ideas that, the iPhone, your smartphone, can actually take some great photos. It is actually a viable option. You don't need a pro camera to take pro photos. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next Sunday.